So I'm going to go quickly over the first couple of questions because I know you guys are comfortable with this. If it asks you for like number 1, which expression shows 8 less x? Remember, this is different than 8 less than x. It's telling you 8 less x, which means A. If it said 8 less than x, it would mean that 8 is being taken away from x. Number 2, one-step equation. You're going to subtract 4, and you should get that h is equal to, and be careful with this because this is negative 6 minus 4, which is negative 10. Number 5, in order to get y by itself, you're going to divide by negative 4 on both sides. Y is going to be a negative divided by a negative is a positive 3. All right, number 3, I know that the fractions freak you out. But here, for number 3, you're trying to get m by itself. Notice that m is not a fraction like the other ones are. Whenever you have an equation with fractions, try to get them all to have the same denominator. What would you do to this so that it has a denominator of 9? If you recall, the coefficient, which is the number in front, of m is 1. So really this is 1m, which when I want it to have a denominator of 9 would become 9 over 9m. That part would be a little bit more complex than if you looked at it and realized that if you're trying to get m by itself, I really don't have to worry about doing anything to m except what? Get rid of that minus 3/9 by adding 3/9 to both sides. When you do that, you get m is equal to negative 4/9 plus 3/9, 1 over 9. So, let's look at number 4. Hopefully this one looks pretty easy. W is being divided by negative 6, so you're going to multiply both sides by negative 6. Negative 12 times negative 6 is positive 72, is equal to W. So you have a fraction that's being multiplied to a variable, and you're trying to undo that. Your eyes are going to look at that minus 4/5 and think you have to add 4/5, but you're not subtracting 4/5 to x, you're multiplying. And so that means that you're supposed to, with your original question, if this is just rewritten, you're supposed to multiply by the reciprocal, and if it's negative, you keep it negative. So if I'm multiplying by negative 4/5, to undo it, I multiply by the reciprocal, which is a flip. That's what I'm supposed to do. When I do that, when that happens, this becomes 1. It just goes away. So it's just x, 1x, is equal to, and when you multiply your fraction calculator, if you were to multiply the long way, you would get 40 over 4, which is equal to 10. So x is equal to 10. Definitely one like number 7 on the quiz, and you're looking at it going, oh no, but it's a two-step equation. Think of it like a regular equation without the decimals. So I am going to add 0.2, and again, don't not use calculators at this point. You're allowed to use them, so use them. 1 plus 0.2 is 1.2. 0.6x is equal to 1.2. What is the next step? I divide by 0.6, and I get x is equal to 2. 1.2 divided by 0.6 is 2. Kind of like if I made this over 1 and it was 12 over 6, it would still give me 2. So when you use your calculator and you do 1.2 divided by 0.6, it should give you 2. Let's look at the next group of questions. Ooh, I know you don't like this one. Well, this is the one that it's going to be very important that you remember the most important rule for fractions, which is to always get a common denominator. That is the number one rule, always. You must always get a common denominator when every single part is a fraction. What I mean by that is, you notice that there are 3 terms. 1, 2, 3. And every single one of these, every single one of them is a fraction. What is the common denominator of 5, 3, and 5? The common denominator is 15. That means I am going to look at my first one, and to get a denominator of 15, I multiply by 3 over 3, so that's negative 6/15. Equals, I'm going to multiply by 5 over 5 for this one. Don't forget it's still negative. 5 over 15m. And I'm going to multiply by 3 over 3, which is 9 over 15. Now, as an aside, I want you to remember, every fraction is really division. Remember that the reason that they invented the division symbol was to represent fraction, numerator over denominator. How do I undo division? By multiplying. If every fraction is a division symbol, and now every single part of that equation is a divided by 15 thing, then theoretically I could multiply everything by 15 and undo the divided by 15 all at once. And the one thing that may be difficult for you to understand is that when you have an equation, you're allowed to do anything you want to it, as long as you do it to every single part. So if I want to get rid of that denominator of 15, I'm going to multiply everything by 15, which essentially, when I do that, is literally going to undo all of the division right away. So now I have a non-fraction equation. Negative 6 is equal to negative 5m plus 9. How do I solve this? Minus 9 minus 9. You get negative 15 is equal to negative 5m. What do I do now?
Divide by 5.
Divide by negative 5.
Negative 5.
And you get 3 is equal to m, which is the same thing as m is equal to 3. So all of these are the ones that are similar to those on the test. I just want to jump to number 12 because it's got variable on both sides of the equal sign to make sure you know how to do that one. So number 9 also has variables on both sides, and we'll come back to that one, but I just want to make sure you guys understand this one. So with this one, I strongly always suggest that you separate both sides of the equal sign. I also suggest that as you're looking at a really large equation such as this, you take each side separately and simplify it. So if you're looking at the one on the left, the expression on the left, what can I simplify within this here? You can simplify the 7b and the minus 4b because they're on the same side.
Can you change like the equation a little?
So essentially what you're doing is changing the equation a little using what we call the commutative property, where you're just moving the order of the things around, right? So this one is really 7b minus 4b, combining like terms, is 3b. All I did is rewrite the left side. I haven't really done anything except rewrite it. Is equal to, I'm going to rewrite that 9, and I'm going to realize that I need to distribute that negative 3 to everybody here. Do not do 9 minus 3 first, because order of operations says you're supposed to multiply, or parentheses, before you subtract. So do not do 9 minus 3 because you'll be doing it wrong. You rewrite the 9 and distribute that 3. That gives you negative 3b minus 12. Now on the right-hand side, I can simplify the 9 and the negative 12, which is 9 minus 12, which is negative 3. So this is really negative 3 minus 3b. And now I can go ahead and solve. So I want to minus the 3 here so that it goes to the left, from the left to the right. So I moved this one that way. I rewrite and I get 3b is equal negative 6, because remember, negative 3 minus 3 is negative 6.
Are you adding 3?
Minus 3b. Remember, you're taking this plus 3 and you're going to minus it to the other side. Now I'm going to take this minus 3b and move it to the other side. So I am going to add 3b here and add 3b here. I get 6b is equal to negative 6. And my last step is to divide by 6. And I get b is equal to negative 1. For number 13, even though the question on the quiz is a little different, I'm going to go over these. I want you to solve each of those 4 equations to see what kind of solutions you get, to remind you what happens when you solve something and you get different looking solutions. When I have x plus 2 equal to x plus 2, if I am going to be solving it, I might minus that 2 on the left and take it to the right. What that would give me is x is equal to x, because both of the 2's cancel out. What is it called when you get something that reflects itself and you can't further complete it? Like if I was to divide everything by x, I would get 1 equals 1. What is that solution called? Infinite solutions, all reals, whatever you want to say. Identity is the other way of saying it. They all mean the same thing. Similarly, if I was going to solve the next equation, I may look at it and immediately recognize that it's a little different, or I might have to actually do the work, in which case we can do that. You draw the dotted line, you minus 2, minus 2. That's going to give you x is equal to x minus 4. I minus the x to bring this guy on the right over here, and I get 0 is equal to negative 4, which is not true. What is this called? No solution. When you solve an equation and the answer you get cancels out all the variables and all you have left is a false statement, it means that equation is a faulty equation and you can't solve it. That's why it's no solution. If you exactly. If you look at x plus 2 equals x minus 2, you might immediately go, wait a minute, how can adding 2 be the same as subtracting 2? You can't. It's no solution. And the last question, or sorry, thank you. I thought it was ABC. It's 2 more. Okay, letter C and letter D. Let's do letter C first. If I'm solving my equation, dotted line, I'm going to add x to both sides. X plus x is 2x. 2x is equal to 2. What do I do now? Divide by 2. What do I get? Ah, there is a solution. X equals 1. So this is not a special case. So do not think that all of the questions you get are going to either be no solution or all reals. Some of them you're going to, as we've seen with most of them, you're going to get an actual solution. Here, there's one solution, x equals 1. And D, let's see. Let's see what D looks like. Yeah, there we go. It's x plus x equals 2. So this is really 2x equals 2, because I combine x and x. Then I divide by 2, and I get x is equal to 1. I also got a solution. So pay close attention to when, as you're solving, you get no solution or all reals, like we did with the first 2, where when you solved those got you either no solution or all reals. So we said that. Which one was no solution? Letter B. And all reals is letter A. Great. I want to make sure you realize that for the last couple of pages, please know and please pay attention so that you don't have these questions. You do not have to worry about 15, 16, 17, or 18, because on the small little quiz that you have tomorrow, it's number 14. If 2x minus 13 equals negative 39, find the value of x minus 8. They want you to solve for x and then plug it into x minus 8. So you would add 13. You would get 2x is equal to negative 26. Divide by 2, you get x is equal to negative 13. So they want you to find the value of x minus 8. Well, that's x minus 8, which is negative 13 minus 8, which is negative 21. On there.
Tomorrow.
And then for the vocab, please remember that on the quiz, you will have a vocab section, but it's not going to count. It's practice. It's only formative, the vocab, because on the final test for chapter 1, it will count. So it's just so that to see where you are with the vocab.